Today is Thursday, November 2nd. We're talking about efforts to get at least some people out of Gaza as the war between Israel and Hamas continues to escalate. Also, we'll tell you what parts of the U.S. are dealing with especially cold weather for this time of year and how much longer it's expected to last. Plus, how this year's World Series champions made history, why thousands of teachers are now on strike, and what to expect from a new Beatles song that's 45 years in the making. Those stories and even more news next. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Well, some of the people who have been stranded in Gaza are finally getting the chance to evacuate for the first time since the war between Israel and Hamas began. Dozens of seriously injured Palestinians and hundreds of foreign nationals are passing through the border crossing into Egypt after weeks of intense negotiations between several countries, including the U.S. And more people are expected to evacuate today, including some American citizens. But it seems the vast majority of Palestinians will not be able to leave Gaza, even as Israeli attacks continue and have turned large parts of the territory into rubble. Both Egypt and Jordan have said they are not willing to take in Palestinian refugees from Gaza, citing both economic and security reasons. And the Israeli military says it's been going ahead with strikes from the ground, sea, and air. The UN says Israel's ground operation in Gaza is now the largest to date. And already, military analysts have said Israel's air campaign rivals any other this century. Speaking of which, Israel confirmed several more airstrikes yesterday, including one that hit Gaza's largest refugee camp again for a second day in a row. The Israeli military once again said it was not targeting civilians on purpose, but that it's justified when there's an opportunity to take down an important target that already helped kill hundreds of Israeli citizens and is plotting to take out more. But Gaza officials say hundreds of other people were also killed. The UN says the scale of tragedy is unprecedented and that there are still dire shortages of medicines, water, food, and fuel. Now, the attacks and the humanitarian crisis are sparking growing international backlash. Jordan has recalled its ambassador to Israel in protest of the war and humanitarian crisis in Gaza, and some Latin American countries have done the same. The U.S. is starting to face more pressure, too, since the Biden administration has been supporting Israel, saying it has the right to defend itself and is important for U.S. national security as well. But more and more, the U.S. is stressing the importance of minimizing civilian casualties and increasing humanitarian aid. In response to a protester demanding a ceasefire yesterday, President Biden repeated that he has asked Israel for what he called a humanitarian pause. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is headed back to the Middle East today. He's planning to visit Israel and Jordan and could expand the trip to other countries, too. Well, this morning, parts of the UK and France started getting pummeled by a potentially record-breaking storm. The UK is calling it Storm Ciarán. Besides the heavy rain that's falling now, winds could top 100 miles an hour, and waves could reach 50 feet in some coastal areas. Plus, people could be dealing with significant flooding. Already, power outages have been reported, and flights and public transportation services have been canceled across the region. Here in the U.S., a cold snap has brought the first frost or freeze of the season and daily record lows to parts of the Midwest, South, and East. Really, most areas from the plains to the East Coast are now seeing below average temperatures for this time of year, and that's going to stick around today from Texas to Maine. But then by the weekend, most of the country will see high temperatures that are near or above average for this time of year. One of the world's main trade routes is cutting way back this winter because of ongoing drought. The Panama Canal has been a convenient way for ships to move between the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans for over a century. But now, Panama Canal officials will have to cut the available openings for ships in half this winter. The area experienced its driest October on record, continuing months of warmer than usual temperatures and low rainfall. Already dozens of vessels are waiting to cross both sides of the canal. And the U.S. says delays have already pushed shipping rates higher and could mean slower deliveries. And things might get worse. Some shipping experts say if droughts get more intense, vessels may soon have to avoid the canal altogether. The canal's board is now proposing building a new reservoir to help allow for more ships to avoid those problems. And if they move forward with that plan, construction could start in early 2025. The Federal Reserve may finally be finished with the most aggressive rate hikes in 4 decades. This week, the Fed held off on raising interest rates once again, so they're staying at the same level they've been since July. That means the benchmark rate is still in the range of 5.25% to 5.5%. But Fed Chair Jerome Powell says he and other Fed officials are still watching closely to see what they should do next, that they're taking it meeting by meeting for now. Basically, if they decide financial conditions are already tight enough to control inflation, they can end the campaign here. But if the economy just continues to outperform expectations, they may need yet another rate hike. Inflation has been coming down, but it's still above the central bank's 2% target. The Fed meets again in December, so stay tuned. Still ahead, we are talking about the World Series, a teacher strike, the Beatles, and more. But first, a quick break for our sponsor. I think one of the reasons I've struggled to stay consistent with my workouts the last couple of years since having a kid is because I'm just busier now. So I accidentally fell into this all or nothing mindset. Either I was going to a class or the gym and doing an hour-plus workout, or nothing. And more often than not, it was nothing. Well, with the help of Copilot, I'm finally getting back on track. I got a tailored just for me and my lifestyle workout plan that actually feels doable and fun, plus needed and convenient accountability from my real-life trainer through Copilot that I get to message every day if I need to. Thanks to Copilot, I'm getting in more movement every week than I have in a long time, and that is a really good thing for both my physical and my mental health. I'd love for you to follow my lead to get fit and feel fabulous. Give Copilot a try and find out why it was listed by Forbes as the top-rated personal trainer app of 2023. Head to go.mycopilot.com/newsworthy to get a 14-day free trial with your own personal trainer. That's go.mycopilot.com/newsworthy to get a free 14-day trial with your very own personal trainer. Take a back seat and let Copilot help you reach your fitness goals. Now back to the news. The MLB has new World Series champions. The Texas Rangers won it all for the first time in the franchise's 63-season history, ending the longest title drought among titleless teams. The Rangers beat the Arizona Diamondbacks last night in Game 5, giving them the best-of-7 series in 4 wins and just 1 loss. And they did it in Phoenix. In fact, the team won 11 straight games away from home this postseason, setting the record for the longest road-winning streak in MLB postseason history. But now they're coming back home to Texas to celebrate. The Rangers World Series celebratory parade is happening in Arlington tomorrow. Sports fans everywhere are saying goodbye to a legendary college basketball coach. Bob Knight died this week at 83 years old. He most famously coached the Indiana Hoosiers from 1971 to 2000, helping the team make the NCAA tournament 24 times in 29 seasons. Under Knight, the team won 3 national titles, including one in 1976 when Indiana went undefeated, a feat no team has been able to accomplish since. Beyond his wins on the court, Knight said he would make sure his players behaved themselves and went to class. Most of his players graduated, and his teams were never on NCAA probation. But Knight also drew plenty of criticism throughout his career, perhaps most notably when he threw a chair across the court during a game. And he was actually fired from Indiana in 2000 after refusing to step down following multiple physical confrontations. Still, he returned to the school in 2020 for a ceremony honoring him, where he received a rousing ovation. And now other coaches, players, and fans are paying tribute to him, many calling him one of the greatest ever. About 45,000 kids can't go to school right now because of a teacher strike in Oregon's largest school district. And of course, it's impacting working parents, too, who might not have other childcare. It's the Portland Public Schools' first teacher strike in district history. The teachers want higher pay, smaller classes, and more planning time. But the Oregonian reports there's at least a $200 million gap between what teachers want and what the district says it can afford without layoffs and other major changes. The two sides are set to negotiate again tomorrow. Remember, teachers in Los Angeles and Oakland, California also walked off the job this year, as well as in many other smaller districts. And we've seen major strikes across a variety of industries throughout the country, from Hollywood to automakers and more. The largest Christian university in the U.S. was given a record-breaking fine this week. The U.S. Education Department fined Grand Canyon University $37.7 million, saying it deceived thousands of students about the cost of its doctoral programs. Specifically, GCU is accused of lying to more than 7,500 former and current students, since the Education Department says 98% of people enrolled in PhD programs at the school pay thousands of dollars more than what's advertised. Still, GCU says it hasn't been deceiving anyone, that there has always been a disclaimer the programs could cost more because of continuation courses that are common in doctoral programs throughout all colleges, and it's promising to defend itself. So, to be continued. It's it's considered the closing chapter for one of the greatest bands in rock and roll history. The Beatles are releasing their final song today. It's called Now and Then, and all 4 Beatles are featured on the track. John Lennon recorded the first version in 1978. The band revisited the song in the 90s, and then the song was finally completed last year by the band's surviving members, Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr. They both described the track as being exciting but emotional, since it's the closest they'll ever get to playing together as a band again. You can listen to it today starting at 10 a.m. Eastern on streaming services like Spotify, Apple Music, and Amazon Prime Music. Then tomorrow, a new music video will be released with previously unseen footage of the Beatles from their early days. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Thing to Know Thursday. But first, this episode is sponsored by Uncommon Goods. If you want to be that person who gives all your people a thoughtful and unique gift this holiday season, but without added stress, I have your secret weapon, Uncommon Goods. And even before Uncommon Goods became a sponsor, they were my go-to place to browse and buy when I did not already have a gift idea for someone. Uncommon Goods scours the globe for the most remarkable and truly unique gifts for everyone on your list. Whether your person is a coffee, wine, or book lover, a gardener or chef, a hiker, traveler, entertainer, or homebody, there is truly something for everyone and at gift-friendly price points, too. It's such an easy way to support artists and small independent businesses as well, which I love. My most recent purchase on Uncommon Goods is this beautiful but also kind of fun and silly stoneware popcorn bowl with a kernel sifter to ensure that the next movie night is both stylish and toothache-free. How great of a gift is that for anyone who loves curling up on the couch with popcorn and a show? To get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/newsworthy. That's uncommongoods.com/newsworthy to get 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary. Now back to Thing to Know Thursday. New data shows undergraduate college enrollment is up again for the first time since the COVID-19 pandemic. Overall, enrollment in higher education had been trending downward even before the pandemic, and then it dropped even more when it hit. But now preliminary data from the National Student Clearinghouse Research Center shows a more than 2% increase in enrollment since the same time last year. That said, why enrollment is higher is still a bit of a question mark. The research center said it's possible returning students may be staying in school longer because they need more time to complete their degree, especially since the data shows freshman enrollment, mostly at 4-year programs, is slightly down, falling 3.6% since last year. And perhaps families are saying no thank you to the higher-priced schools, since community colleges accounted for more than half of the enrollment growth for undergrads, which includes high school students enrolled in college courses. Black, Latino, and Asian students accounted for most growth, too. There's also been an increase in the number of students choosing shorter-term options like undergrad certificate programs. The data collected comes from universities representing close to 10 million students. Well, thank you so much for listening today. A quick reminder, if you get value out of this show, if you enjoy it, please be sure to follow us in your favorite app to listen daily, and even text a link to the show to a friend today telling them why they should be listening too. Thank you so much for all the support. We'll catch you up on more news to know tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.